Parmahesa Yogananda, the renowned spiritual teacher who brought the ancient science of Kriya Yoga to the West, viewed marriage not as a mere social contract or romantic union, but as a profound spiritual opportunity for soul evolution. His teachings reveal that marriage, when understood and approached correctly, becomes a sacred laboratory for working out karmic depths, developing unconditional love, and accelerating spiritual growth. The concept that your wife is your karma emerges from this deeper understanding that our closest relationships serve as mirrors reflecting our own spiritual development needs and providing the exact circumstances required for our soul's advancement. In Yogananda's worldview, nothing in life is accidental. The soul we marry, the challenges we face together, and the lessons that emerge through marital union are all orchestrated by divine intelligence to provide us with precisely what we need for spiritual evolution. This perspective transforms marriage from a pursuit of personal happiness into a sacred commitment to mutual spiritual development. Yogananda distinguished between two types of attraction that bring people together in marriage. The first is what he called animal magnetism. Attraction based primarily on physical desire, emotional needs, and ego gratification. While this form of attraction is natural and not inherently wrong, it creates marriages that are fundamentally unstable because they are built on temporary, changeable foundations. The second type is divine magnetism, a soul-level attraction where two beings are drawn together by their shared spiritual purpose and complementary karmic needs. These marriages, according to Yogananda, represent true spiritual unions where both partners serve as instruments for each other's liberation from the cycles of karma and rebirth. When Yogananda spoke of marriage as a spiritual institution, he emphasized that ideally, couples should be attracted to each other through divine magnetism. Recognizing in their partner not just a romantic interest, but a soul companion who will help them work through their karmic lessons and advance toward God realization. The mirror of relationship in the context of karma, our spouse serves as perhaps the most accurate mirror of our own spiritual state. The qualities that attract us, the characteristics that irritate us, and the patterns that emerge in our marriage all reflect aspects of our own consciousness that need healing, development, or transcendence. Yogananda taught that we attract partners who embody both the qualities we need to develop and the challenges we need to overcome. If we struggle with patience, we may attract a partner who tests this quality. If we need to learn unconditional love, we may find ourselves with someone whose behavior challenges our capacity for acceptance. This isn't punishment, it's divine grace providing us with the exact curriculum our soul requires for its evolution. The irritations and conflicts that arise in marriage are not obstacles to spiritual growth but opportunities for it. Each disagreement becomes a chance to practice forgiveness, each moment of discord an invitation to find harmony within ourselves first. Yogananda emphasized that trying to change our spouse without first changing ourselves is futile. We must work on our own consciousness, and as we do, our outer relationships naturally transform. Yogananda taught that successful spiritual marriage requires love to operate on three distinct but interconnected planes: physical, mental, and spiritual. Many marriages fail because couples focus exclusively on one or two of these dimensions while neglecting the others. On the physical plane, Yogananda advocated for moderation and the elevation of physical intimacy from mere sense gratification to an expression of soul communion. He taught that when physical union is approached with reverence and spiritual awareness, it can become a sacred act that deepens the couple's connection to each other and to God. On the mental plane, successful marriage requires intellectual compatibility, shared values, and the ability to communicate effectively about both mundane and profound matters. Couples should be able to support each other's mental and emotional growth, serving as friends and confidants as well as romantic partners. Most importantly, on the spiritual plane, married couples should support each other's relationship with God and commitment to spiritual practice. This doesn't mean both partners must follow identical spiritual paths, but rather that they respect and encourage each other's sincere seeking for truth and self-realization. Perhaps the most challenging and transformative aspect of marriage as spiritual practice is learning to love unconditionally. Yogananda taught that human love, by its nature, tends to be conditional. We love others because they make us happy, fulfill our needs, or behave in ways we approve of. Spiritual marriage calls us to transcend this limited form of love and develop the unconditional love that reflects our divine nature. This doesn't mean accepting harmful behavior or abandoning discrimination. Rather, it means learning to separate the eternal soul of our partner from their temporary personality traits and behavioral patterns. We can love our spouse's true self while still addressing problematic behaviors with wisdom and firmness. Unconditional love in marriage manifests as the commitment to see our partner's highest potential even when they're not expressing it, to offer forgiveness even when we've been hurt, and to remain loyal to the relationship's spiritual purpose even during difficult periods. This form of love transforms both the giver and receiver, creating an upward spiral of spiritual development. Yogananda viewed marriage as a form of karma yoga, the path of selfless service. In spiritual marriage, both partners learn to serve not just their own desires and goals, but the highest good of their relationship and their partner's spiritual evolution. This often requires sacrifice, not the bitter sacrifice of martyrdom, but the joyful sacrifice that comes from recognizing that our partner's spiritual advancement is inseparable from our own. This service takes many forms. Supporting our partner during difficult times, celebrating their successes without jealousy, making practical sacrifices for the good of the family, and sometimes setting aside our own preferences to maintain harmony. The key is that this service should flow from love and wisdom rather than from duty or fear. When both partners approach marriage with this spirit of loving service, the relationship becomes a powerful force for mutual upliftment. Each person's growth accelerates the other's development, creating a positive feedback loop that benefits not only the couple but their children, community, and ultimately the world. Yogananda taught that the specific challenges that arise in our marriage are not random but represent karmic patterns that our soul needs to resolve. These might include tendencies toward jealousy, controlling behavior, emotional withdrawal, chronic criticism, or any number of other patterns that create suffering for ourselves and our loved ones. The first step in working through these karmic lessons is recognition, becoming aware of our own patterns without immediately trying to change them or blame them on our partner. This requires the development of what Yogananda called the witness consciousness. The ability to observe our own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with detached awareness. Often, the patterns that most disturb us in our spouse are reflections of unresolved issues within ourselves. The husband who is constantly critical of his wife's housekeeping may be projecting his own inner perfectionism and self-criticism. The wife who feels suffocated by her husband's attention may be struggling with her own fear of intimacy and commitment. Once we recognize the karmic patterns at play in our marriage, we can begin the work of transformation. This process requires both partners to take responsibility for their own consciousness while supporting each other's growth with patience and compassion. Yogananda emphasized that lasting change comes not from willpower alone but from connecting with the divine source of strength within ourselves. Through meditation, prayer, and spiritual practice, we can access the power needed to transform deeply ingrained patterns. As we change internally, our external behavior naturally reflects this transformation. The process is rarely smooth or linear. Old patterns may resurface during times of stress, and progress may sometimes seem slow. Yogananda taught that patience with ourselves and our partners is essential during this journey. Each setback is an opportunity to practice forgiveness and renewed commitment to growth. Many of the karmic patterns that manifest in marriage have been passed down through family lines for generations. Unconscious patterns of communication, emotional expression, and relationship dynamics often repeat themselves from parents to children unless consciously interrupted and transformed. Yogananda saw marriage as an opportunity to break these generational cycles, not only for the benefit of the couple but for their children and future generations. When two people commit to working through their inherited patterns with consciousness and spiritual dedication, they can literally change the karmic trajectory of their family line. This work requires courage, as it often means choosing to respond differently than our parents did, even when their patterns feel familiar and normal. It also requires compassion, as we begin to understand that our parents and ancestors were doing the best they could with their level of consciousness and the challenges they faced. While marriage calls for unity and cooperation, Yogananda emphasized that each partner must maintain their individual relationship with God. Personal spiritual practice, including meditation, prayer, study of spiritual teachings, and self-reflection, provides the foundation that makes true spiritual marriage possible. Without this individual spiritual grounding, partners tend to become overly dependent on each other for emotional and spiritual fulfillment, creating a codependent dynamic rather than a spiritually empowering one. When both partners are committed to their own spiritual development, they come together from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. Yogananda encouraged married couples to maintain regular periods of solitude for spiritual practice, even while sharing their spiritual journey with their partner. This balance between individual spiritual development and shared spiritual purpose creates the ideal conditions for both personal growth and marital harmony. In addition to individual practice, Yogananda recommended that spiritually oriented couples engage in shared spiritual activities. These might include meditating together, studying spiritual texts, attending religious services, serving others as a couple, or simply having regular conversations about spiritual matters. These shared practices help align the couple's consciousness and create a sense of common purpose that transcends the ordinary concerns of married life. When challenges arise, couples who share spiritual practices have a foundation of unity that helps them navigate difficulties with greater wisdom and less reactivity. The key is finding practices that feel authentic and meaningful to both partners. Forced spiritual activities create resistance rather than harmony. The practices should emerge from genuine mutual interest and should enhance rather than replace each person's individual spiritual development. Yogananda taught specific techniques for using prayer and meditation to heal and strengthen relationships. He encouraged couples to pray for each other's highest good, to meditate on sending divine love to their partner, and to ask for divine guidance in resolving conflicts and challenges. He also taught the practice of forgiving meditation, a technique where one meditatively sends forgiveness and love to their partner for any hurts or conflicts that have arisen. This practice, done regularly, can dissolve resentment and create space for renewed intimacy and understanding. When conflicts arise, Yogananda recommended that couples take time to meditate or pray separately before attempting to resolve their differences. This allows each person to connect with their deeper wisdom and approach the situation from a more centered and loving state of consciousness. Many marital conflicts arise from miscommunication and the failure to truly understand each other's perspective. Yogananda taught that effective communication in marriage requires both the ability to express oneself clearly and the willingness to listen with genuine openness to one's partner. He emphasized the importance of speaking truthfully but kindly, avoiding both the harshness that wounds and the false niceness that avoids necessary conversations. True spiritual communication seeks to understand rather than to win, to heal rather than to harm, and to find solutions that serve the highest good of both partners. Listening, in Yogananda's view, is as much a spiritual practice as speaking. It requires setting aside our own agenda and truly opening ourselves to understand our partner's experience, feelings, and perspective. This kind of deep listening often reveals that apparent conflicts are actually misunderstandings or that both partners are seeking the same underlying needs through different approaches. Yogananda acknowledged that anger and conflict are natural parts of human relationships, including marriage. The goal is not to eliminate these experiences, but to transform how we handle them. He taught that anger, when properly understood, can serve as a signal that something needs attention or change, but it becomes destructive when expressed through blame, criticism, or attempts to control our partner. His approach to handling anger included immediate spiritual practices, taking deep breaths, offering a silent prayer for guidance, or even temporarily removing oneself from the situation to regain composure. He emphasized that trying to resolve conflicts while in a state of emotional reactivity rarely leads to positive outcomes. Instead, he encouraged couples to address conflicts when both partners are in a calm, centered state. This might mean agreeing to table a discussion until both people can approach it with love and wisdom rather than reactivity and defensiveness. Yogananda viewed jealousy and possessiveness as forms of spiritual ignorance that arise from identifying our partner as our possession rather than as a free soul on their own spiritual journey. While natural protective instincts in marriage are normal and healthy, possessiveness that seeks to control or limit our partner's growth and freedom creates suffering for both people. The antidote to jealousy, in his teaching, is the development of secure love. Love that is rooted in our connection to God rather than in our need for our partner's exclusive attention. When we know ourselves as complete spiritual beings, we can love our partner without desperately needing them to validate our worth or provide our happiness. This doesn't mean being indifferent to our partner's choices or accepting harmful behavior. Rather, it means loving them enough to want their highest good, even when their choices challenge our ego or preferences. This kind of love ultimately creates more intimacy and loyalty than possessiveness ever could. In Yogananda's ultimate vision, marriage serves as a spiritual partnership where two souls support each other's journey toward God realization. This doesn't mean that spiritual marriage is easier than other paths. Indeed, it may be more challenging because it requires us to work through our spiritual lessons in the intense mirror of intimate relationship. However, when approached with the right understanding and commitment, marriage can accelerate spiritual growth in ways that might take lifetimes to achieve through individual practice alone. The constant opportunities for selfless love, forgiveness, patience, and service that marriage provides create an intensive course in spiritual development. The goal is not just personal happiness or even mutual fulfillment, but the gradual transformation of human love into divine love. As couples learn to see God in each other and to love without condition, their relationship becomes a reflection of the soul's relationship with the divine. Transcending attachment while deepening love. One of the most subtle aspects of Yogananda's teaching on marriage involves learning to love deeply while maintaining spiritual detachment. This apparent paradox requires understanding the difference between love and attachment. Love, in its pure form, seeks the beloved's highest good and greatest happiness. Attachment, by contrast, seeks to possess and control the beloved for our own emotional needs. Spiritual marriage calls us to love our partner completely while holding them lightly, supporting their growth and freedom even when it challenges our preferences or security. This kind of love creates space for both partners to evolve and express their authentic selves while maintaining their deep connection. This detachment doesn't mean emotional coldness or indifference. Rather, it means loving from a place of spiritual strength rather than emotional neediness. It means being able to let go if necessary while choosing to stay and serve the relationship's highest purpose. Parmahesa Yogananda's teachings reveal marriage not as a mundane arrangement but as a sacred journey of spiritual awakening. When we understand our spouse as our karma, as the perfect spiritual curriculum for our soul's evolution, we can transform every challenge into an opportunity for growth and every moment of love into a step toward divine realization. This path requires courage, patience, and deep commitment to spiritual principles. It asks us to see beyond surface personalities to the eternal souls we have married, to respond to conflict with wisdom rather than reactivity, and to choose love even when it's difficult. The reward for this commitment is not just a happy marriage, though that often follows naturally. The deeper reward is the gradual transformation of human consciousness into divine consciousness, the evolution of conditional love into unconditional love, and the recognition that in truly loving another soul, we discover our own divine nature. In this highest understanding, the statement, "Your wife is your karma," becomes not a burden but a blessing. Recognition that divine intelligence has provided us with the perfect partner for our spiritual awakening. Through the sacred laboratory of marriage, we learn to love as God loves, completely, unconditionally, and with perfect wisdom. This is perhaps the greatest untold wisdom that Parmahesa Yogananda offered to those ready to transform their marriages into spiritual partnerships and their love into a pathway to the divine.